Hi. In this episode, we're going to talk about the strategy of anticipation. What is anticipation? Anticipation is a way of predicting with the help of signs and clues about what is going to happen next. Anticipation goes together with situational awareness. You are aware of your environment, look at the signs, look for clues, and you anticipate what's going to happen next, and you take preventive action before things go bad. Let me give you an example with a story. A young girl, a teenage girl, is walking with her little brother. The brother is probably 4 years or 5 years old, and the girl is a teenager. They're walking down the street, and at a certain point ahead, she sees a group of people protesting. A morcha, protest march is going on, and people are shouting slogans. As she approaches closer, she hears that the slogans are angry, aggressive. So she looks around and she sees more people joining them, and there are police over there. And then she sees a couple of more police motorcycles and police cars pulling up. As she approaches, she realizes the more and more angrier the crowd is getting over there. So she decides to cross the street to the other side. She crosses the street, she watches. She's still some distance away from this morcha. Then somebody throws a stone. At that sign, she realizes if one stone is thrown, there could be other stones thrown, and there could be a lathi charge. So she's across the street, she decides to go through a lane and get into the other side of the street, away from that area. She's anticipating what could go wrong. She's thinking one stone is thrown, so there could be more stones and there could be a lathi charge. And then it would be chaos. And she's walking on a small brother. His life and her life could be in danger. She could be hit with a stray stone or a lathi. So she changes goes off to some other area. That is strategic thinking. That is an example of the strategy of anticipation. This young girl is looking for what's happening around her, calculating. This is a behavior pattern. The crowd behavior, mob behavior can escalate to something else. So as she's thinking, she's processing what she's going to do. She's changed to the other side of the road. As things go bad, she has moved further on, across the lane to the other street on the other side. She's out of danger. This is an example of the strategy of anticipation. Strategy of anticipation involves a thinking process when you alert about your environment. You're looking for signs, you're observing, looking around, looking for clues as to what might happen next. Now I'm going to tell you a story told to me by a lady who attended my workshop, and this was a real experience she went through. It was a very clever idea and a classic example of the strategy of anticipation and that form of thinking and planning which helped her save her life. She had just got on a train, and as the train was moving, she noticed her ex-boyfriend was on the train and he was looking at her. This particular ex-boyfriend happened to be an aggressive person who had even slapped her. So she had broken off with him and she didn't want anything to do with him. So he was in the train. The train had already started moving, so she couldn't get off the train. So she sat there. He came and sat across from her, and because the train was crowded, he couldn't make an approach or say anything to her. So since she was staring at her, she could see it in his eyes that there was something not nice about him. He looked aggressive, angry, maybe a little drunk also. So she changed the compartment, went to the next compartment. He followed her, sat across from her again. So now she decided, as soon as she got off the train, she'll have to make a run for it. She lived around 50 to 60 meters away from the railway station. So it was going to be a run about 60 meters dash to her flat where she stayed. So she knew, and that's what she'll have to do, because she's not going to be the one to listen to her or reason with her. His eyes looked at that angry, aggressive type. So what she did was, first she tightened her shoelaces. She had to make a run for it, so the shoes had to be in good condition. Then she had some papers in her hand. She put those papers in her bag. and pulled out her keys, the house keys, zipped the bag tight, pushed the bag a little bit towards her back. And she had the keys because as soon as she got to her flat, she had to quickly open the door. There was no time to fumble for the keys in her bag. That would be precious seconds lost. She made a phone call to some friends to come for help. But that was going to take time for them to arrive there. She had made a plan anyway. She was going to make a dash for it. And she knew how fast she could go. She loosened her wrists. She rotated her ankles to prepare for the run. As the train was approaching the station, she was loosening her toes and her fingers, getting ready for the legs to really push. The train arrived. She got off the train, started walking fast. Looked over her shoulder. He was following her, fast-paced. So then she broke into a run. He started running behind her. She ran faster, as fast as she can. He was also dashing. She moved, got to her flat, opened the door, got in, locked the door inside. He banged on her door. She had already made another phone call and her friends were on the way. They got there a couple of minutes later and then this man walked away. Now this is a classic example of the strategy of anticipation. She saw the man coming into the train. She knew he was going to make a move towards her. She knew in her mind what steps she was going to take. She was not scared. She had a plan B, a strategic plan B. This is what she's going to do. Make a phone call too. And then she was going to make a run. She was ready for it. These are the steps she took, which was a brilliantly made plan to escape from this attack. A classic example of the strategy of anticipation. Now I'm going to give you an example of a spy who travels through a dangerous territory. A spy first steps into the territory and his main keywords to understand the situation and himself is know yourself, know the enemy, and know the terrain. Okay? Know yourself means you understand what is your condition at this point. Are you warmed up and ready to get into a fight? Or are you tired, injured, out of focus, or have got pressures and tensions on your head? Know your enemy means understand what type of enemies could be attacking you, their strengths and weaknesses. This comes by exploring more knowledge, finding out more about the different kinds of attackers that exist. Terrain. He steps out onto the terrain, outside his house or outside the office. Maybe it's a bit dark. There's some street lights on and some are probably not working too well. He looks around. There are so many cars parked. There are some stones or bricks piled up in certain places, which he notes they could be used as weapons. And then this is called the first primary scan. When a spy enters a territory which is dangerous, he does a primary scan first, looks around. After he has walked about 5 steps, he does the secondary scan. The second scan is about looking for ambush points, the attack points. Where in his path from point A to point B are the weak areas where he could be attacked? Where could the spy be hiding? Where are the shadows? Where are the places where a person could hide? So he walks in that area. And by the time he's taken the 10th step, he goes into a mode called think like the enemy. Think like the enemy is when you put yourself in the position of the enemy and think which will be the spots best suited to attack yourself, the target at this point in time. So the spy goes through 3 steps. The primary scan, where he looks at the environment, understands the shadows and the lights. 2, the possible hiding places, ambush points. And 3, he starts thinking like the enemy. That is where the strategy lies. If you understand the enemy, what the enemy wants, how he could attack you, and which are the places where you could be vulnerable, you're better able to calculate your risk factor and anticipate an attack. This is strategic anticipation. It is sad that in my own country, I'm telling girls, women, to think in terms by using words like dangerous territory and think like the enemy and such words. It's really sad. But you think of it like this. How many terrorist attacks have happened in the last 3 years? Some people may have died, some people may have been injured, some people just hurt. And you compare it to how many rapes and murders have happened in the last 3 years. The statistics tell us that there's one rape happening every 20 minutes. So 40 minutes, 60 minutes, so you got 3 happening per hour. In 10 hours, 30 rapes happening somewhere. And then I'll leave it to you to do your calculations, come up with your figures. If this is happening, how can we celebrate? When we are celebrating one's birthday, it takes you 10 minutes, 20 minutes, cutting your cake and sharing it with your friends. And that 10 minutes, 20 minutes, somebody somewhere has suffered drastically. I'm a patriot, and I do understand the defects and problems in my country. And being a patriot, because I love my country, we have to fix this. Think about it. So anticipation strategy is a very important subject of safety. I'll be telling you more about it in future episodes. Think about this, think about what I've said, and I hope it helps you. Thank you. Namaste. Our workshops are called PAPA's Initiative. PAPA's is an acronym for Prevention, Attitude, Preparation, Anticipation, Strategies. PAPA's also means a fatherly concern for the girls. And our workshops are conducted in Goa, and we've covered many different schools and organizations to help women be safe.